What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel. Please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to post notifications so you know when a live stream pops up your drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Share this out. It's not a dead time in baseball season like it is in football season, but sharing this out, getting it out to Yankee fans, different baseball communities, different platforms, helps the channel out. And I apologize for not having done a Yankee video since like March. I know, obviously, that's a little bit bad on my part. It's actually very bad on my part because this is a Yankees channel. But if you've been tuning in to the Boys in the Big Apple podcast, you guys already know that we're very, very impressed with the Yankees this season, despite some shortcomings at different times. And we are the best team in our division, best team in baseball. I can't say that for sure because of the Astros. And honestly, this is part of, beating the Astros, the trade deadline. I said I was going to make a video on it, and we're going to make a video on it. 5 bats at the trade deadline the Yankees may consider. Got about 4 outfielders and 1 other position player that I'm not going to name because that's something we'll get to. I don't want to spoil it. It's a pretty obvious name right now and in a pretty obvious position. So we're going to go over 5 bats at the deadline that they may consider. And with that being said, we're going to talk about the player, the impact they can have on the team, and answer some questions as well. So stay tuned in for this video. With that being said, we'll go over one player, and probably one of my favorite players first is Andrew Benintendi. And this guy, honestly, is a guy that the Yankees need. He's a contact hitter. Does he have power? He hasn't even hit 100 home runs in his career yet, which, okay, maybe some people could, be up in arms about that. I really don't know why. But this guy is one of the guys that the Yankees need in the lineup. Contact hitter, could be at the top of the lineup, top 3, top 4, and he's done it all before. He was an all-star this year. With that being said, he was a World Series champion only a few years ago, so he's been through the winning process. He's been through the losing process as well because he's with the Kansas City Royals. They haven't been good for years. And something that also as well I like to bring up, Benintendi versus the Astros in his career. 333, 419, 407, 827 OPS. Obviously, I think it's OBP before slugging or slugging before OBP, but he's got 333 batting average against them in his career. And we really need guys that can hit against the Houston Astros. We can't fall short on this deadline getting some scraps or whatever just to be better than Aaron Hicks or Joey Gallo. We have to get the top tier guys, and in my opinion, Andrew Benintendi is one of those top tier guys. Some statistics on the year: in 326 at bats, 3 home runs, 39 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 319 batting average, 791 OPS, and a 389 on-base percentage. In the last 7 games, 333 batting average, 5 ribbies, 3 walks, total of 7 hits in 21 ABs. The last 15, 392, 12 RBIs, 9 walks, 9 Ks, 1 stolen base, 20 hits, and 51 at-bats. And then in the last 30, 352, 1 home run, 17 RBIs, 15 walks, 16 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases, 38 hits, and a total of 108 at-bats. And then you look at his entire career, and one of the things I'm going to get to with Ian Happ is his consistency. But I think you could tell with Andrew Benintendi that he's been consistent. Now, has he hit over 300 over the course of his career? No. But he's hit over 250. He's hit over 260. And he's been a quality hitter you want at the top of the lineup when your bat needs contact bats. When your team needs contact bats. IKF, he could probably do better in a better sized lineup, but in a lineup where Josh Donaldson's not producing, sometimes you have Higgy, sometimes you have Joey Gallo and, Aaron Hicks. Adding this guy would flatten it out, and it would balance it out because you do have too many power bats in the lineup, and if they strike out, you at least want guys in the playoffs that get on base and that do the simple stuff. Benintendi is not just a guy that hits singles. I don't know where people have gotten this idea that, contact hitter is IKF. No, IKF just hits singles. Benintendi, extra base hits, all that sort of stuff. And he could have a pop in the bat once he gets to the short porch in Yankee Stadium. But with Boston in 2016, he hit 295, 2 home runs, 14 ribbies. 2017, 20 home runs, 90 RBIs, 271 batting average. 2018, 16 home runs, 87 ribbies, 290 batting average. 2019 with the Boston Red Sox, one of his final years with the Red Sox, 13 homers, 68 RBIs, 266 batting average. And then you go to 2020. In 14 games, he didn't put up that great of stats. I think he maybe have been injured or sent down or something like that. But he only had 1 RBI with a 103 batting average in 14 games. 2021, it kind of changed a little bit. Obviously the atmosphere, because, it goes from Boston where they're hard on you to Kansas City where they're really not. 17 homers, 73 RBIs, 276 batting average in 2021. Still under 100 strikeouts, which I'm happy about. And then 2022, so far, 3 homers, 39 RBIs, 319 batting average, like we went over before. Some questions to answer. I'll get to the Toronto stuff because I know that's very concerning for some of you guys. But Peraza or top prospect for a rental? I've gotten this thing before where, what if, we can't give up Peraza for a guy like Benintendi because he's a rental? Then don't make him a rental. Then put pressure on the Yankees to not make him a rental, because they're not calling up Estevan Florial anytime soon. They're probably not going to, unless some major injuries happen. Tim LeCastro's not the answer. Who in your system is? I mean, Jason Dominguez? That's like 2 years, 3 years down the road. And is he even going to be playing left field? There's a lot of questions to answer there. And I know everybody's talking about Judge and all that stuff, but if you get this guy, you can lock him in. He's not going to cost $20 million a year. Maybe he does, after this season because he's an all-star. I don't see it. But then again, that could be my ignorance towards the market. With that being said, I wouldn't go as far as trading Volpe for this guy. However, if you give up Peraza, I wouldn't have a problem because A, you could lock this guy in. B, are they calling up Peraza anytime soon? You'd rather him go to a team and succeed and actually be in the majors than have him rot in the minors like we have so many prospects over the years. So I just wanted to bring that up. Obviously, this gets to a political subject once people take it overboard or whatever, and I'm not going to go into it, but obviously Toronto has the vax policy, and we have 3 more games against Toronto this year, and I'm not going to talk about years down the line. I'm going to talk about right now. The reason Andrew Benintendi would be on the Yankees is not to beat Toronto. It's to beat Houston and get in the playoffs. And I understand, people will have their opinions on the vax and whatever. I'm not going to go into that because I'm not splitting my fan base like a lot of other people do. And then there's arguments. And I don't fucking tolerate that shit, okay? Just going to put it lightly. I don't tolerate that shit. With that being said, there's only 3 games left in Toronto. And if you look at and I know they just blew out the Red Sox, but if you look at the beginning of the year, I'm not counting Yankee Stand, but in Toronto, Joey Gallo, Aaron Hicks, all those guys were in the lineup and we beat them. We lead the season series right now. So I don't understand why we have to fear, he's not vaccinated, we can't get him. And the thing that bothers me with that is, once again, politics and all that shit aside, Andrew Benintendi, if you fray away from him because of him not being vaccinated, it's like you're not and you go for Ian Happ instead. And I don't believe Ian Happ is the best guy out there. I really don't want him, but if Benintendi's taken by another team, then you have to get him no choice. Or Juan Soto, which we'll talk about, obviously, in a couple of minutes. But let's just say Andrew Benintendi goes to the Astros. Let's just say he goes to another team, and they advance farther than the Yankees, and the Yankees got Ian Happ, and they had a chance to go in on Benintendi and, give up whatever they needed to give up to Kansas City in order to get him, but they said, you know what, 3 games in Toronto, that's not going to work with us, and him being unvaccinated. Then you possibly cost yourself because you're worried about 3 games and you're not worried about the postseason. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion. I'm talking about just this year. I'm not talking about years down the line because he's a free agent. We don't know if he's coming back to this team. So I just, obviously, there's some points to put out there. But I believe Andrew Benintendi is the best outfielder on the market, not named Juan Soto. And Juan Soto is the next guy we're going to talk about. This year, 20 home runs, 43 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 250 batting average, 79 hits, and 316 at-bats. For the last 7 games, 333 batting average, 3 home runs, 6 ribbies, 6 walks, 8 hits, and 24 ABs. Last 15, 400, 6 homers, 11 RBIs, 15 walks, 18 hits, and 45 ABs. And then last 30, 298 batting average, 7 home runs, 15 ribbies, 12 strikeouts, 29 walks, 28 hits, and 94 ABs. And then you look at the basis of his career. I know he had a low batting average to start the year, probably around the 220s, but with the type of bat he has, I'm not so concerned about that. In his rookie year with Washington, 116 games, 292 batting average, 22 home runs, and 70 ribbies. And also to go along with that, 10 walks. So he's not much of a walk guy. With that being said, in 2019, he struck out a career-high 132 times, but 282 batting average, 34 home runs, 110 RBIs. And I'll mention something about power hitters and how I feel about them with striking out after I read the stats. He actually won the batting title in the National League in 2020. 47 games, obviously it was a 60-game Schwappy season. 351 batting average, total of 13 homers, 37 RBIs, 28 strikeouts, total of 41 walks. And me going back to the thing about, he's not walked much, that's actually a lie. I was looking at intentional walks. 79 walks his rookie year, his second year, 108 his third year, which was the COVID season, total of 41 walks. And then 2021, 313 batting average, 29 homers, 95 RBIs, 145 walks, 93 strikeouts. Already mentioned the 313 batting average, 157 hits in 151 games. And then 2022, we already mentioned his stats. And here's how I feel about power hitters. And I'll talk about Ian Happ once again. He's actually going to be the next guy on the list. If you're a power hitter and you hit a lot of home runs and you hit for average, I have no problem with you striking out 120, 130, 140 times. If you're Joey Gallo and you only provide walks and home runs and strike out a shit ton, I have a problem with you. Now, Joey Gallo obviously was brought here, also the glove. But with that being said, I don't like Joey Gallo. He's been shit for this team, and I really never liked the trade to begin with. With that being said, there's a couple of questions that come in, and we've asked these multiple times over the last few days. Obviously on Dead Bread, on Twin Bill, we'll be asking them again on the Boys and Big Apple podcast on Monday. So you're going to hear these questions repeatedly. Can the New York Yankees pay Judge and Soto? Realistic expectations, I don't think so. They can. I'm actually happy that this fan base, at least on Twitter, has turned around to say, why not pay Judge and Soto at the same time? Two of the best bats in baseball. But realistically, I don't think they will. I don't think they will pay both. I think it's going to be one or the other. Maybe they trade for Soto at the deadline and keep him and Judge intact, and then one goes in the offseason, or they just sign Judge and let Soto's contract run out, and, he's a free agent in 2024, 2025. How much of the farm would you have to give up? You would have to give up a couple of top prospects. There's no doubt about that. Peraza would probably be in the mix. Volpe, I know, is at the top of the Nationals list. And I don't see that as an issue. Getting one of the best bats in baseball, I would do it in a heartbeat. Now, are the Yankees willing to do it in a heartbeat? I would hopefully think so. But if they're not, then, what are you really offering to the Nationals when they're a rebuilding team? They will have money in a few years. No doubt about that. And it's not like they're a piss-poor organization. But with that being said, they have been poor a couple of years. 2019 seemed like an anomaly. How many current players would be in that deal? I would think Gleyber Torres is possibly in that deal. A ready second baseman, someone who's coming off of a good year. If you're talking about trading for him, this year or next year or whatever. But we're talking about the deadline here. Gleyber Torres is having a really good year, one of his better years. Now, obviously, he's not hitting 38 home runs yet, but the glove has been really good at second base. And if you get that, the power goes up, and he's at the top of the order, possibly top 5 in Washington. Place for him to succeed, and he's not necessarily hiding in the shadows of DJ LeMahieu. and he's not splitting time with anybody. He's starting 100 some odd games at second base. Would the Yankees take on any contracts like Patrick Corbin and Steven Strasburg? I don't think they can. I don't think they should. I don't think they will. It would be a menace for them to throw in, hey, listen, we're going to give you Juan Soto. We want prospects back, but we're also going to throw in Patrick Corbin. No. I wouldn't do it. There's a slight chance he gets fixed by Matt Blake, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it at all. You guys, the Yankees could call up guys from their system where they could go in free agency and get starting pitchers. Tyon is better than Corbin, but he's had a down year kind of. He's been an experiment kind of for 2 years. So, no more bad contracts, please. Josh Donaldson, Joey Gallo, Aaron Hicks, those are some bad contracts already. Let's not take on anymore. Would you give up Judge for Soto? I'm going to leave that one because, well, that's just my personal thoughts, and it's a personal question rather than a Yankees question. Would this limit other needs you can get via free agency in the trade market? I think it would, on a realistic expectation once again. But if we're thinking MLB The Show GM, our personal GM, in our heads, I think this won't limit needs. Now, would it compress a little bit in terms of your salary and the luxury tax? Yes, it would. But at least my expectation for the Cashman-Steinbrenner shit, I think this would limit other needs, and they would probably let Judge go, and they would try to call up guys from their system, whatever they have left, because you're giving up a chunk in that trade. Not as many, prospects as people think, but you'd probably have Marinaccio. You'd probably have J.P. Sears become a starter. There's a couple other guys you could throw in there. There's also a couple of guys in the minors that they're hoping for, that they turn out well. So I think this would limit needs if you're talking about the Cashman-Steinbrenner era. But if you're talking about, your own personal GM in your own personal head, different story. Would you make this deal and would you trade for him? I would trade for him. I would trade for him because he honestly is one of the best players in baseball. Home run derby, all-star, batting title champ. Why not? And, I just don't see why not. Why not Juan Soto? If you have a crack at him, go. I mean, the Yankees have a lot of money. We already know that, but it's how much they're willing to spend, how much they're willing to use, and all that stuff. But with that being said, let's go to Ian Happ. We have 2 more candidates after Ian Happ, so this has been a pretty long video thus far. Hopefully you guys are still tuned in, and thanks to the ones who are still tuned in. Let's go to Ian Happ. Before this year, I'm going to make this clear. Shouts to Matt Riley, one of the loyal supporters of the channel and a friend of mine. He's also on Twitter, so you can follow him at Matt Riley01, I believe it is. But Ian Happ before this year, 241, 338, 467, 805 OPS. So the OPS, is better than expected for some. A 241 batting average and a 38.8% K rate. That's a little dicey. Also, a 12% walk rate. We'll talk about the consistency and stuff like that. With that being said, in terms of the 2022 regular season, he was an All-Star. He was nominated to be in the All-Star game. 9 home runs, 44 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 281 batting average, 817 OPS, 369 on base percentage, 91 hits, 42 runs, 324 at-bats, 333 in the last 7 games, 262 in the last 15, and 278 in the last 30. I'm going to talk about the outlier season in a minute, but that's also going to go to what I'm going to say right now. Somebody brought up to my attention, Andrew Benintendi is not going to be consistent with his BABIP. I think that's how you pronounce it. First of all, I don't care about these advanced analytics that don't mean shit to the game. A lot of people try to push that on Twitter. I'm not one of those guys, and I don't accept it. I don't read those tweets and shit like that. It's like batted balls in play. Apparently, it's like how lucky players are. So apparently, Andrew Benintendi is really lucky, but Joey Gallo's unlucky to some people. It's weird with narratives and shit like that. But if we're talking about, Benintendi's not going to last. His BABIP's not going to last. Ian Happ is having an outlier season, in my opinion. You look at most of his career, he's been a power bat, and he struck out over 100 times. Last year, he had 25 home runs, struck out 156 times, 226 batting average. Not so keen on that. The year before that, 258, Struck out 63 times, obviously COVID season. He had a total of 12 home runs, 28 RBIs. The year before that, 11 home runs, 30 RBIs, 39 strikeouts, so he did get limited amounts of games, 264 batting average. The year before that, 2018, he had a total of 15 home runs, 44 RBIs, 167 strikeouts, and then the year before that, also 233 batting average. The year before that, his rookie year, 2017, 24 home runs, 68 RBIs, 129 strikeouts, 253 batting average. I'm not necessarily in love with this guy, and he's not consistent. That's one of my bigger issues. He is not consistent. Like, past couple of years, we talked about the 241 batting average and a lot of the other stats that come with it. And this year, he's having a great year. No doubt about that. If he could continue this, I won't have an issue. And if the Yankees trade for him, hopefully he continues on this, consistent streak of, he strikes out a lot, but he hits homers, can also be a contact bat. He really hasn't shown that in his career. And you look at guys like Juan Soto, you look at guys like Benintendi, they're consistent in their own craft. Ian Happ, I can't really say the same thing for. So that's like one of the reasons that I'm just not for him. It's very possible that the Yankees go out there and acquire him, Robertson, and another guy, which I'll get to eventually, just to get it all done in one. They do need a starter, though, so probably go Castillo or somebody else. With that being said, I'm just not a fan of Ian Happ. Just not a fan of him. I like Benintendi more. I like Soto more. And Ian Happ, I wouldn't say it's a settling move, but it's like 2A, 2B. Sorry, I'm just not that high on Ian Happ when you have other options out there. The next guy is Tyler Naquin. Why do I bring him up? Because he could be in another package. Him and Luis Castillo could go to the Yankees for prospects and maybe a current player or two. Tyler Naquin on the year, 246, 6 homers, 30 ribbies, a total of 43 hits in 175 at-bats, 227 in the last 7, 209 in the last 15, and 271 in the last 30. You look at last year with Cincinnati, total of 19 home runs, 70 RBIs, 270 batting average. Year before that with Cleveland, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, 218 batting average. The year before that, 10 home runs, 34 RBIs, 288. Year before that, 3 homers, 23 RBIs, 264. The year before that, not much with Cleveland, 216 batting average, 1 RBI. And then the year before that, 14 homers, 43 ribbies, 296 batting average. I'm also not very high on Tyler Naquin. He feels like one of those 2A, 2B options. And Ian Happ's better than him because, he's more proven in his craft where, I can't say proven in his craft, a little more inconsistent, but I'm just not high on Naquin. Once again, it's one of those feelings where, he could possibly be a gold, a diamond in the rough. But when you have options like Benintendi, when you have options like Juan Soto, it just doesn't seem like you're going for the highest thing. If they take Tyler Naquin, maybe as like a fourth outfielder. But when you look at stats and stuff like that, how much better is he than Aaron Hicks lately? And you want to get the best option out there. You want to avoid playing Aaron Hicks 7 days a week, 6 days a week, 5 days a week. You want to avoid that. Maybe Aaron Hicks is a fourth outfielder. Okay, you can sell me on that. But this guy almost has identical stats the last few years. Maybe a little bit better, but not by much. I know everybody's talking about, you need an improvement over Gallo, not Hicks. But we want to strive for the best to beat the guys in the playoffs. And Naquin's been in the playoffs before, but Benintendi has better experience. He's won a World Series title. So I'm not that high on Tyler Naquin. I know that's all talk and, not much stats to back it up and all that shit, but it's just not an option for me. The last guy, Wilson Contreras. I don't have defensive stats on me, but 14 home runs, 36 ribbies, 258 batting average, 3 stolen bases, 75 hits, and 291 ABs. Last 7, he really hasn't been doing good. 1 home run, 1 RBI, 143, 4 hits in the last 28 ABs. 217 in his last 15 and 239 in his last 30. So he's been on a bit of a slump. Honestly, that's kind of the hitter he is, though. Not 143, not 150, but around the 220 to 250 range is what he's been his whole career. 272, obviously, in 2019. But other than that, 282, 276. 249, 243, 237. And when they didn't trade Gary Sanchez before the Donaldson trade, and when they didn't trade for Jacob Stallings, I was pissed. You guys have heard the rant before. It was on a Nets stream, believe it or not. But with that being said, I was like, go after Wilson Contreras. Sure, he's not the best offensive catcher, but he's defensively better than Gary Sanchez, and he could be a leader. He could be a leader that gets your young guys into shape and makes sure that, they're doing well on the field and stuff like that. So that's pretty much that. What's the reason for getting him? He's a 2023 free agent, by the way, so it would only be a one-year rental. You could extend him a little bit and make Trevino your backup and then flip-flop them. That way you don't have Higashioka playing how many days a week he already does. But what's the reason for getting him? Exactly that. Jose Trevino is an all-star. He's been a godsend. Probably Cashman's best move of the offseason. But with that being said, do you really want your alternative to be Kyle Higashioka? We know how the Yankees are with their analytics and their, set lineups and all that stuff. Do you really want Higgy starting a playoff game? And what if you're down 3-2? I have more faith offensively in Wilson Contreras or Jose Trevino, for that fact. I have more faith in those two guys than Kyle Higashioka. And this would be a luxury, so it's not necessarily, catcher's a need. It's not a need, it's a luxury, but I wouldn't be mad if they traded for Contreras and packaged him with Robertson. Now, Ian Happ, once again, I mentioned my problems with him, but if Benintendi's already gone, then Ian Happ has to be the way to go along with Juan Soto. I mean, I'm not forgetting about him. But if Juan Soto's gone to another team, if Benintendi's gone to another team, I will be bummed out. But the next best option is not Aaron Hicks. You have to go and get Ian Happ, Robertson, and then Wilson Contreras maybe. But those are 5 bats the Yankees could look for at the deadline. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops up your drops. Appreciate you coming back. About a half-hour video almost here, but appreciate you guys tuning in. I haven't done a Yankee video in a while. Thought I would make one. We're going to do pictures at the deadline very shortly. Peace out, guys. See you later, and stay cool.